Hey there everybody, and welcome into TK Power Sports. I'm currently sat on the most powerful production ATV ever built. This is the 2025 Can-Am Outlander 1000 XT-P, and I want to review it for you. So in this video, we'll go flying around the trails, we'll find the mud, and then you know we're going to do a top speed run, so make sure you stay tuned. All right, folks, we're gonna kick this one off with some mud. So this is our trail, the left hook. There's not a ton of water here right now, actually, but boy, is there ever mud, and the ground's extra soft. Springtime's always like that out here. So honestly, for an ATV, as compared to the trucks we normally test out here, this is not too tough, and these tires are feeling great. What I always like to see is, can I hop up out of the ruts? So if I go full right now, that was really good, and that's what you want from your ATV. You want it to be able to not just play down and get stuck in those ruts, you want it to be able to climb out of those ruts. Now I should mention my front diff is locked right now because I wanted maximum traction, but yeah, a bit of slip there, but actually that was quite good. So mud performance on these tires feels really good so far. Now coming up over the rocks, and I'm gonna go way over here, which I never do with the truck. But on this ATV, oh, like butter, like butter. Nicely done. So it's nice that you can pick your way through the mud and the tires feel good, but on a machine like this is how you want to deal with the mud. Okay, everybody, and now it's time to trail ride. We're out of the mud now, and usually I spend a little more time in the mud, but honestly, this machine is just not about that. It'll do fine in the mud. You already saw that, though. Don't get me wrong. But this machine is truly about flying down a more wide open trail. So that's what we're going to do right now, and I'll talk you through exactly how it feels. So we're going to run it in two-wheel drive. We'll put it in sport mode, high range. Here we go. So the very first thing that we have to talk about is very simply the suspension travel, because it is absolutely epic. When I just hit those whoops on that trail, it just swallows them up. Now I've been riding these trails my whole life, so I'm very aware of where the bumps are, where the whoops are, and the sort of speeds I normally hit them at. And with this ATV, I find I can just continually hit things quicker and quicker and quicker. And that's because the suspension is doing such a good job of soaking them up. Normally, coming down into those little whoops or coming up over little ridges, the suspension on most ATVs we test is kind of maxed out. And what that means is that you get a bit of a hard hit, or you go down into that whoop, the suspension hits, and then you sort of bounce back and your front end gets light for a moment, and that can feel really sketchy on the trail. That almost never happens here. Even hitting things at ridiculous speeds, it feels like all four tires are doing their best to stay on the ground, and they almost always do stay in contact with the ground, which means I have good handling from behind the handlebars. And that's what I'm talking about. Every time I hit those things, I've never felt like, oh my gosh, that was way too quick, I'm out of control. I just keep hitting stuff, and the ATV just keeps on soaking it up. So my very first observation is quite simply that yes, it's ridiculously powerful, but the suspension absolutely matches that power. It's not like they just put a big engine in and forgot that it had to handle well too. Now, I have the suspension currently set on full soft. All of those QS3 shocks, I have them set on setting number 1. And I think that's the best setting for me. I want to hit things at speed. I want it to swallow them up. And when it comes to handling just sort of tightness around a corner, it still feels plenty tight. Don't forget the XT-P model here, it gets a front sway bar, which other Outlanders don't get. And that's the entire idea, is to make sure that your front end is staying nice and planted and not allowing the body to roll that much when you're going through corners, and it really doesn't. So yeah, personally, I would keep this thing on full soft, and even on full soft, it still feels like it has sharp handling. And then if you do put those clickers over to full firm, then it really bites and digs in to a corner. But of course, then your high-speed ride gets a little choppier, and you might start to get some of those sort of light front end moments that I was talking about before. And in general, let me just say, I think that's always the best way to adjust your suspension. That's how I do it. I go full soft and then go out and ride. And then if I feel it's necessary, I start to make it more firm. The other thing you want to avoid is bottoming out. But man, I've bottomed out maybe once or twice today, but barely at all. And even when I feel like I have reached the end of that suspension travel, I've never had a hard hit. Now, I'm sure you're wondering about the power. Let's take a look at how the drive modes affect the power first of all. Let's talk through the power more, and first I have to tell you about the different modes that are here. So we have work mode, normal mode, and sport mode. Normal and sport, pretty self-explanatory. The thing with work mode is that it really dulls the throttle response. The idea is if you're towing, especially if you're backing a trailer in or you're working in tight bush or next to a building, you don't want this thing to be jumpy. And let me tell you, it's very jumpy in sport mode. So work mode really dulls that throttle response. And right now, I'm gonna show you guys a comparison between a full throttle takeoff in four-wheel drive in each of the 3 modes. So take a look. In 3, 2, 1. And there's another use for work mode as well. Right now I have it in work mode and low range. So that means I'm getting that great low end torque, but the throttle is really dull, so I'm not gonna get any of that jumpiness. And if you're going over sort of technical terrain like this, that can be helpful. Now, it's worth mentioning that if I was to ask for full throttle, Can-Am is not limiting the power. You're gonna get full power here, even in work mode. But look at this, I can so delicately modulate my throttle to get up and over a steep little hill like that. So it's another advantage of work mode. So you saw it in the clip, when this thing is in sport mode and you nail the throttle, those front tires are coming off the ground, whether you want them to or not, because there's just so much power here. Now, actually, this is one thing I want to warn you guys about, because this has happened to me already. You come to a stop, for some reason your handlebars are turned, and then you get going and you think, oh, I'm just going to suddenly turn. Well, if you hit the throttle hard enough like this, those tires lift up and the ATV just goes straight. So if you are starting off in sport mode with your handlebars turned, do not nail the throttle too much, because yeah, that ATV is not going to turn. And that's just a testament to how much power there is in sport mode. It feels like it is delivered instantly, and there's a big difference between sport, normal, and work, which I like to see as well. So you're never going to complain about power here. One thing you might complain about is this throttle by wire system down here at my thumb. And I think for the most part, it's just something you have to get used to. When you've come from traditional ATVs that have a throttle cable, you're just used to feeling that sort of pressure, that back pressure on that thumb throttle. You kind of have to put some more torque into it. None of that exists here. This throttle is super lightweight. It's very easy to press. And it's kind of a weird dichotomy where the throttle is easier to press than ever, but the engine is more powerful than ever. So you're controlling this powerful beast with a really light feeling throttle. And I'm not sure if we'll ever get there, but Can-Am, personally, I wish this was adjustable too. I wish that I could make this thumb throttle a little harder to push or a little easier to push based on, my own preferences. But yeah, I don't want to call it good or bad. I think it's just different, and it takes some getting used to. The other thing that takes getting used to if you're coming from many other ATVs is the simple fact that there is only a left-hand brake lever. There's nothing over here on the right. So you're gonna be grabbing with your left. This is gonna activate all of your brakes. So it's nice to have all of them on that left lever. And let me say that the brakes work well. I mean, you can see me coming to a dead stop right here. And when you grab them, oh boy, does this thing ever lock up. But yeah, what can I say? Do I wish there was a right-hand brake? Yes, but it's just because that's what I'm used to. So it's another one of these cases of you have to retrain your brain to just forget about right-hand brake and still go for the left. But there is still a foot brake down here as well. So they didn't get rid of the foot brake. So you have two different options when it comes to stopping this thing. Now let me talk a little bit sort of about the cockpit space, seat comfort. Seat comfort is pretty good. The seat is cushy, but just firm enough sort of at the bottom of it that I don't feel like I'm all the way through it. So no problem with the seat comfort. I do feel like one thing Can-Am does on a lot of their machines and Sea-Doos and Ski-Doos is they always sort of bring together the seat into the skinniest point right where your knees can lock into it. So you can see, you can really lock your legs in, and that's gonna help to just control your body. So as you're flying down the trail, yeah, those are two extra muscles that you're using in your thighs, in your quads, to make sure that you can grab on to that seat. So I do like having that design as well. And then I just think the footwells themselves are massive. Like I can move my boot forward, I can move my boot backwards, I can really kind of put it where I want it. I feel like some footwells you get a little bit trapped, especially with big boots, and you just can't move them around very much. But yeah, this thing definitely feels big. And now we'll get to what is probably my chief complaint, and that is quite simply that this machine is heavy. We're talking about 1,000 pounds once it has all the fluids in it. So it feels incredibly quick, and I don't know exactly what the power to weight ratio is, but I can tell you it also does feel a little bit heavy. Even though it's got that sharp handling I was talking about, you can't help but feel that weight as you're in a corner, sort of wanting to push you wide a little bit. Now, with the heavy machine, it has the power to match, but yeah, I want to make sure that point comes across too, that it's powerful and quick and handles well, but it also just feels big and heavy. And I don't know if that's the future of ATVs, if we're just going to keep getting bigger and heavier and more powerful, but in a way, Can-Am could have saved themselves from bumping up the horsepower and just tried to strip some more weight out of it, but they went the other way. They cranked up the horsepower, but also brought along way more features and cranked up the weight. Now, I also want to show you guys the storage, because there's quite a bit of it here, so take a look. There's a lot of really smart integrated storage features here. So first of all, on the front rack, you get this lid which opens up and it gets its own little prop. So that's great, you can throw stuff down in there. Another great thing is a lot of the Can-Am accessories will actually mount down in this recess too. So things like the fuel caddy you can put, and it sits down in there. That means that it sits nice and flush with this rack. So yes, they've really used that recess for many of their accessories. And I just like to see that you still have that storage. Now up here on top of the rack, you also get these holes which can accommodate link accessories. So you can have all kinds of stuff up here on the front, and your front rack capacity is 120 pounds. Now as we roll back, you get a little storage right here, right in front of the rider. It's just big enough for your phone, but still nice to have phone storage. And there's a USB-C cord, so you can plug in and charge. Very handy. And then of course out back, this is an accessory, but yes, this is the massive accessory link cargo box. Really easy to open, operate, tons of space in here for storing all your stuff. I like to see this nice rubber gasket along the edge to make sure it keeps things dry and out of the dirt. And then this little bin has a secondary one too, so anything in this bin should be doubly protected. So yeah, loads of at-hand storage here on the Can-Am, and I think that's super important with an ATV or any side-by-side, is having spots where you can stash your stuff. Even if you're out for a long trail ride, you want to bring along a change of clothes, lunch, who knows what, you can definitely fit it here on this Outlander. It's at this point in the video that I want to stop and have a bit of a conversation with you, and I want to ask the question, is this too much power? Is 101 horsepower simply too much for an ATV? And I don't have a simple yes or no answer. I think this is nuanced. So I'll offer you some pros and cons. On the positive side, the performance here is ridiculous. I think this is probably the quickest and best handling ATV I have ever ridden, and that means that it's incredibly fun. I can't stop smiling when I'm out riding this Outlander. And maybe my favorite part is I don't feel like I found the limit of this thing. I don't feel like I'm even close to the limit of this thing. So unlike other machines that you might buy and then feel like, you know what, your skills sort of surpass the machine's capabilities, I don't think that is ever going to happen here. So for outright wild performance, yes, this is going to deliver it. And then we get to the negative side, and I think the biggest negative is just how quickly things become dangerous. Because this thing accelerates so hard, handles so well, it kind of pushes you as the rider to keep on going quicker and quicker and faster and hitting those obstacles with more speed. And high speeds are always the cause of big accidents. The faster you go, straight up, the more dangerous it is. So this is when, again, we have to kind of address the nuance, because you can hurt yourself on a 500cc ATV. Heck, you can hurt yourself on a little 420cc ATV, just like you could hurt yourself on this 1000. But with something like this, it just happens so much quicker. You literally have to hang on really tight when you take off, unlike a lot of other ATVs. So yes, the performance is here, but this thing can also be incredibly dangerous, incredibly quickly. And then quite frankly, the last part of this is just my trails here are pretty tight, but even out on a wide open trail, I'm not sure I want to be going this fast for a long period of time. Just as a rider, it just gets tiresome. I don't want to be sort of going flat out the whole time, so I'm not going to use all of that capability that Can-Am has given me. So yeah, you know what? You have to decide for yourself whether or not it's too much, and I definitely want to hear from you down there in the comments. The one thing I do know is that Can-Am and Polaris keep playing this horsepower game. So this is 101 horsepower. I am sure Polaris is somewhere right now working on an ATV with at least 102 horsepower. These companies keep on one-upping each other, so I don't see this horsepower war ending anytime soon. And yeah, that just begs the question, how much is enough and how much is too much? And in my last effort to answer that question, why don't we go do a top speed run right now and see exactly how much I can wring out of this thing. Okay folks, now it's time for the top speed run. I'm here on an empty dirt road. I've got it in sport mode, 4-wheel drive. That might not be the quickest way to do this, but I want the most stability possible, because we're about to go real quick and I want it to be at least a little bit safe. And yeah, we're all clear. Here we go, taking off in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Well, there you have it, folks. Hopefully you could see that clearly. That was 79 miles per hour. And yes, as it approached 80, it did feel like it was limited. So it wasn't gonna let me get any more than 80 miles an hour. But on an ATV, that is absolutely ridiculous. And at that speed, I could really feel the wind and the air resistance kind of pushing the machine around a little bit. And yeah, I don't know exactly who wants to go that fast and for how long, but if you want to do 80 miles per hour, here's an ATV for you. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this video. Now, honestly, I can't answer whether this is too much power. I'm gonna leave that question up to you. What I can tell you definitively, though, is if you have $16,500 US dollars or just a little over $20,000 Canadian, you can bring home an Outlander 1000 XT-P, and it is going to deliver unbelievable, thrilling performance out on the trail. So if that's what you're looking for, this is definitely your unit. So yeah, folks, that's it for this one. Now, of course, I need to hear from you. Why don't you drop into the comments? Let me know what you think of everything you've seen in this video. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then please come back here to TK Power Sports to see what we're testing next. And if you'll excuse me, I got lots more riding to do. See ya.